Hi, Kayla. I'm Cassie. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, what brings you here today?
Cocaine use. People in my circle tell me it's kind of gotten out of control.
Okay. Have they given you examples of why they feel it's gotten out of control?
I mean, yes and no. I think some of them just assume because my behavior. I think at any point when I'm not my normal self, people start to question it, whether it's just a bad day, but then they always just jump to the fact that I'm using. So, if I'm a little more irritated or things like that in a day, people just are like, oh my God, she's using again. And then that frustrates me and kind of, raises my cravings and my anxiety about it.
Okay. So, using again,
Mm-hmm.
You've been using for a little while now?
Yeah, I've dabbled with it off and on. It was, pretty significant last year, but it's lessened immensely where it's only been a handful of times throughout this year.
Mm-hmm.
But use is still use.
Oh, great.
And I get that when, you use, everybody's always going to question, is she sober, what's going on? But at the same time, I want a little bit of faith, but then I deserve it, but then I don't. So it's kind of...
So, some of the people that you're talking about in the circle, is there anyone in particular that has reached out to you about their concerns?
Yeah. So one of my good friends, she just texted me and said you seemed off, over the weekend. My sister has made a comment, and then my ex.
Okay.
So.
Have you ever, addressed any of the cocaine use in the past?
Yeah, I went to outpatient last year, and I did the 30-day program. It's really not the fact that I don't have a problem stopping. It's just on those rare occasions where it's it seems like the only option. Where I used one day in April, and then I didn't use it again until almost June. So it's very sporadic, and I get it. I don't want to minimize, but at the same time, it's
Yeah, you don't necessarily see a problem with it.
Yeah.
Have you asked, like your sister and, your closest friend, what their concerns are with you using cocaine?
Well, their concerns are that they don't want to see me where I was last year, where it was more daily. And I get that, but at the same time, I feel with where I was last year, there was, going through a divorce and all that stuff that was just a whole, I'm not there now. So, the occasional here or there, and then it's they'll never address their behavior issues are always focused on me. So, yeah, I have bad days, and yeah, I've had a couple of slips, but I'm not where I was last year. And again, it goes back to that I deserve some credit, but I don't deserve any. So where's that middle ground?
Okay, I understand. You talk a lot about last year. What was happening last year? Is that when you went into the 30-day program?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What was going on in your life prior to you going to that 30-day program?
Well, the divorce was starting, and I wanted to make sure that I was could say that I'd gone through a program, just to help my case, and it wasn't anything. I didn't want my ex to be like, oh, well, she uses cocaine, therefore she shouldn't get the house or whatever. I was still maintaining a job and things like that. So, but I did a little bit for myself, but I think too, again, life happens, and I think sometimes my coping skills maybe just aren't where I'd like them to be, where on those really bad days, you have them. And so, it's just, or when I have a week where I have 7 events and I'm how the hell am I going to get this done? So yeah, it helps me.
Okay.
So it's hard to balance. I know I shouldn't be doing it, but at the same time I get so much done where it's for me, it's, cost benefit analysis. Do I risk my sobriety for that one day and get my stuff done, or do I sink? And so I kind of, it's a dilemma that I face on occasion.
So going back to last year, you had concerns about the legal issues between you and your ex and some of those things. So that drove a little bit of your sobriety. Was there any other things that that led you to wanting to stop using?
It's a bad habit. It's very expensive. But I think too, it's almost like a reward. It made me feel good. I could focus. But I also thought to myself, okay, I'm going through this divorce. How do I, I don't want to be alone forever. Is this going to impact any potential future relationship? And could I lose my job, or, those types of things? Okay. So there was when you think about it collectively, I'm sure there was a few other things other than just, being sober for the divorce, why I needed to do that.
Okay. Well, you talk about your, possibly your drug use having an impact on your job and future relationships. Has your drug use ever affected your job?
No, I mean, again, like I said, when I have those weeks where, like, I have so much to do, yeah, it's helpful.
Okay. So you see it more in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about relationships?
I mean, I think that's, you know, going through I've become more reclusive, like just going through like the whole divorce and like just not knowing who I could trust. And I wouldn't necessarily say I got paranoid, but at the same time, like it was like, okay, you know, we had a lot of mutual friends. It's like I really pulled back from everybody. So then it was just like, it didn't really impact my relationships with other people. Like, you know, again, I kept my close friend and, you know, my sister, because again, she's my sister, but at the same time, like, I don't think my dad has any clue. My grandparents definitely don't. My younger siblings don't. So.
Well, you came in today. I mean, clearly your sister's thoughts about it and your best friend's thoughts about it has at least brought you in today. So then you coming in today, what are your goals to come out of treatment?
I mean, I just want to cope more positively because I think if we just look at this from a logical, sober person's perspective, you know, you would say, like, if you're having a bad day, you're probably not going to go snort, 6 lines of cocaine. You know what I mean? Where I would be like, oh my God, I have all this stuff to do. That'd be the first thing in my mind because it's easy for me. Or instead I could be like, okay, let me sit down and write a list, or let me go and see my counselor, or call my friend and say, hey, Shatari, I really am struggling to get all this done. Can you come help me? So I don't do those things where I can think about doing those things now, but like tomorrow morning when I have an event and an event and an event and then another one on Saturday, my first thought isn't going to be, oh, I should come see Cassie or I should call Shatari. It's going to be like, let me just go get some cocaine real quick, and then I can just get all my stuff done. Okay. So that's where my dilemma lies, where I know I'm like, okay, I have 2 options, and the easy one is this, and it's the bad option, but it's easy. Yeah. And the hard option is this, and I have to ask for help, which is very hard for me to do.
You mentioned something a little bit ago about how your use now isn't as bad as it has been last year. You know, you said, you might have used one time at the beginning of April, the next time would be in June. So you have a significant amount of time where you were sober. What kept you not using cocaine during those times?
I think April was busy because, again, for what we do, there's a bunch of conferences in April. So, it was pretty consistent, but it wasn't overwhelming. And then it was overwhelming. So that's when I used in April. And then, May, through... I guess the month of May was kind of not as stressful, so it's and then June again, more conferences, so I'm stressed again.
Okay.
So it's kind of going on with those workflows. So then July wasn't horrible, but then August was mediocre. I used once in August, and then September has just been
Okay. So it sounds like when you have this overwhelming amount of stress, that's when you're more likely to use.
Yep.
Okay. So let's go back to some of the ways in the past you've dealt with stress. It sounds like cocaine just kind of came into your life about a year ago. It was pretty heavy then, and now it's a little bit on and off. But let's go back maybe 2 years. And how did you deal with stress then?
Well, so the job that I'm in now isn't like what the job I was in back then. So it was very, I worked my way up to a position where I was a coordinator, but I could do it in my sleep. It was, I could literally come in, I could do my job, your job, and the other person's job, and then walk out at 4:30 and be like, oh, see y'all tomorrow at 8, and not have I wouldn't have to worry about anything. Now with this job, it's constantly looking for the next opportunity, and I need to increase my business and grow and drive in that revenue, so it's a little more, my salary isn't based on what I do, but I have to drive in business, and so it's not like I can just, half-ass it. I really have to be doing stuff all the time.
So you have to work a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Probably adds more to the stress. Okay.
Well, it's not office-based. I think that's, another big difference, where my other one was office-based. And it's if there was, first of all, it wasn't stressful, but if I were to be using in that setting, people would know immediately. Where now I'm kind of I don't see my supervisor every day. We have team meetings here and there, but we largely know in advance. So it's not like I'm going to snort a line of cocaine and then go in my meeting the next minute. Okay. So I just think there's a difference in my jobs. And then I also think that over the last year, just finding out that my husband cheated, that really just increased all that stuff.
All the stress, it sounds like.
Oh, of course. Because then you're how did I not see, because for me, I'm a Scorpio, I'm type A, I'm very perceptive, and I'm like, how the fuck did I not see this? Excuse my language, but how the fuck did I not see this? You know what I mean? So it's like just those types of things where it's like, wow, and then you're like, and then me, I'm very analytical, so I'm like going through like, okay, they're playing back, like, what did I miss, or could I have done differently, and then I'm like, fuck this.
Okay, so you think a lot about what you could have done differently. So if you were to, be given the ultimatum, let's say with your job, because it sounds like it could be a concern with your drug use, you had to stop. What are some of the things you feel like you might be able to do in order to develop better coping skills and strategies?
Probably get a planner. I know I'm pretty type A, so I can probably get a little better with that. No, I just think for me, it's just, I probably need to be in counseling more weekly just to, stay on track and be practicing those skills, because I think what happens is I'm pretty smart. It's not that I can't do the things, but again, it's just, it becomes where it's like a chore versus like a helpful tool. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like scrubbing the toilets. You know what I mean? So
well, it's what you said too. It's that what's the easy way, what's the hard way. And it sounds like you got to go down the hard way, but now you got to figure out why do you want to go down the hard way.
Well, and something that I figured out, throughout the, when I say it's hard for me to ask for help, it's because I have a long history of being let down by people who matter to me. Like, when it was in high school, I could never ask my mom for help because she just wouldn't help me, whether it was with the school project, picking me up I would always find my ride home. So counting on people to help me when I needed it. Even in college, I moved myself into college, I moved myself out of college. Like, why were my parents not there to help me do that? Paid for myself. Not that I'm the only one who's had to do that, but for me, knowing that I had a family, that was able to do that and they just chose not to, and then because then I've always been viewed as the capable one, every time I've struggled or went through something, I've never had people there. So like now, as a 34-year-old, I'm like, I don't ask people for help because they've let me down time and time again. And then when I have called and I haven't gotten the response that I was hoping for, or just no answer at all, then I'm like, fuck this, I'm not calling anybody. So then I start to struggle, and then I get to the point where it's like, all right, I'm just gonna use.
Okay.
Because there's nobody to help me.
Okay. Now, let's say you continue on this path where you have to rely solely on yourself. Where do you see yourself in a year, in 2 years? Do you still see yourself using periodically to kind of get you through those stressful situations? Is this a point where you walked in here and there's a possibility of change and you want to, but you're just not sure?
I do. I would like to get to the point where like I have other coping skills, because I think, I don't, like I said, I don't want to be alone. So like if I want to get married again and have kids, like do all that stuff, like nobody's going to want to do that with somebody who's like intermittently using cocaine, especially like at least any type of man that can hold a job and, to have the type of relationship, because anybody who would want to use with me is something that I don't need. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like, when I think long term, I want to find love again. I want to have a family. I want to get my master's. Like, how do I do those things? Engaging in poor choices. Like, really, it's just a poor choice. And I'm not 25 anymore. I'm 34, and I shouldn't, and I didn't even do the stuff in college. Like, why am I doing it now?
You're right. Do you know what ever led to starting to use?
No, just, I was, with one of my friends, and she was like, try this, and she's like, it helps me, but again, then I think, oh my God, why did I ever, and knowing her, and like, I'm just like, why did I do that? And then it was just like, it helped, and so I was like, all right, and so it was just kind of like, we don't use together a lot, but like, she's the one who's like, yeah, this is what I do, and I'm like, is that how you stay so skinny? And then, then the whole body image thing, that's a whole other story, but,
Okay, so it's something we can also talk about, it sounds like.
Well, yeah, let's get this under control first, but
Okay. So there's a possibility here to work on not using anymore.
Yeah.
And I think one of the bigger issues here is stress. And I think it sounds like work is the top stress level you have going on here. What about friends? Is there stressors there?
Well, no, I just think that because I've become so reclusive that maybe I don't have as many outlets as I could or that I used to. Like in college, I was very social. I had a lot of friends. I was constantly, we would go to dinner, we would go to the movies, and I don't do a lot of those things. And again, this whole divorce process really, again, you become reclusive because who do you trust? But it's like, all your free money, all that stuff. So it's like, I think I definitely need some outlets, coping skills, and maybe even some friends who understand what I'm going through. Cause like Shataria will talk to me all day, but she's never coped, and had to deal with this type of a situation. She's got a good marriage. She's got 3 kids. She doesn't understand like what it's like to feel like a failure.
You said you've done, a 30-day program. You've done outpatient before. Have you ever tried community support groups?
I've gone to some, but I think for me that I don't like the rigidity of some of them, or like, I'm not going to stand there and be like, I'm an addict, because and we all know about the stigma of it. So how do I find a group that I can just say, hey, I struggle, and why do I have to label myself in some fashion? Like, you don't see cancer people walking around saying, I'm cancer. I'm running around telling everybody that. It's like, a part of me, and I think I would need more of a professionals group, because I am in the community a lot. I see people everywhere. So, it's a hard thing for me to balance. Like, where do I go where it's safe, but then I'm not labeled at the same time?
Okay. I do understand that, a lot of the community-based groups like NAAA, those type of groups kind of have that persona about them. And not every community-based group is going to work for somebody. Have you ever tried Smart Recovery?
No, but I Googled it, and I need to see what fits into my schedule.
Okay.
So
that's something we can kind of work at too, is trying other community-based groups, looking up schedules, seeing if you can attend them and fit it into your schedule. It sounds again like your schedule is overwhelming already to begin with. So where is it that we can manage the stress of work and still work on, you at the same time? What about your health and fitness? Do you have goals like that?
So I haven't been to the gym in a week or 2, and again, that's just because of the busyness of this month, but like in July and August, I was going 5 or 6 days a week, so it's something that, I like going to the gym. It's a good outlet for me, but again, for me, it's like when I'm leaving my house at 7 and not getting home till like 6:30, like, me going to the gym was the last thing that I wanted to do. So I have that there. But again, I think that's the only place where I can turn my brain off, because then I'm focused on making sure I'm doing whatever right and checking out all the hot guys, kind of is a little bit of a good distraction. But then I get home and it's just like, then I just start on my computer. It's like there's just no break. I think I just need to get better with boundaries, maybe with work, where I'm just, I do that. And then I just don't do it, so.
So it sounds like you have some good ideas here. You acknowledge your problem. You acknowledge kind of the choices that you make, the good ones and the bad ones, and how you need to make the good ones a little bit more frequently.
Yes.
So, we talked about planning and being, getting a planner and scheduling a little bit maybe better. How can you go about doing that to help with work and your daily life?
I think just setting aside, maybe again the planning part, like I know where I have to go. Like, so for tomorrow, can I go home and be like, okay, at 8 o'clock I need to be at this place, at 9 o'clock I need to be here, and just be like, oh, here I need to go in this area, and really not have a plan, and just, so maybe just be a little more structured with my day. That way when I get home after the gym, I don't have anything to do, because I would have done it in my day.
Okay. So what other things can you do to ensure that you go to the gym in the middle of the day?
Do like the buddy system with my trainer.
That could be a good thing.
He's pretty cool like that, because he's been texting me like, I haven't seen you in a while, and then I'm just like not responding. So then he's like, then he'll find Shataria like, where's Kayla? And then I'll be like, tell him to stop bothering me, because it's like I don't want to let him down. So I think that's something where maybe I could just like, I don't have to tell him everything, but just say, hey, listen, I've been struggling, and here's what I need you to do to help me.
Well, you talk a lot about letting people down, and you've always felt let down. But I think the biggest thing here is to start focusing on you. And so, you make a lot of really good points. Work's stressful. You kind of got an idea here. So now you have to develop ways in order for you to progress. So let's say you get a planner. You go ahead and you start planning out your day. What about your friends? And not being as reclusive. How can you focus on?
I guess I could start responding to the group text messages. You know, they plan stuff. I just don't want to go. But, you know.
What makes you not want to go?
Sometimes I feel like I talk to people all day long, that the last thing I want to do is go sit at another table and is talk more about talking. It's hard sometimes, like when you're in the sales field, because you're, you know, talking to people all day. Like sometimes I just want to veg.
Okay.
You know? And so for them, like my friends that are stay-at-home moms, like they just talk to kids all day. So like when they want to go, like they're like uber excited to like.
Well, what if you make one day a week of an effort? Start small.
And coffee or something.
Something not long in length of time like dinner, but you're right, coffee would be a good idea to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe start with a small group of people versus a large amount of them. Sounds like in a group message there's a couple of them.
Like an aerobics group? No, I'm just kidding.
Also a possibility.
Yeah.
What about at the gym? I mean, that's a really good example too. Are there classes you can take?
Yeah, there's classes all the time. Some of them are really early in the morning too, so that wouldn't be a bad idea.
It wouldn't. It would kind of look at a couple of different factors for you. It'll get you working out, make you feel a little bit better there, as well as help you interact with other people.
Yeah.
Okay. So now your sister and your friend kind of brought you in here. What kind of conversation can you have with them moving forward about where you're at?
I think that's the hard part, but I mean, because I don't think they understand maybe, you know, what's going on, like why, because they're like, why do you have to use cocaine? Like they don't get it. I don't know, I think maybe some education on their part. It's like, you know, my sister shops, like it's like, so you get to go spend $500, but I use cocaine, like, you know what I'm saying? So I think trying to help educate her on like why I use this as a coping skill. Let me work on mindfulness. It's not like I don't have this, like I know the stuff, but sometimes again it's that easier route versus the work, you know, the harder, you know, more work driven route. So
yeah, but it sounds like you have a lot of goals you want to accomplish in the future. Getting into a relationship again. You know, you talked a lot about how using might be a barrier of you meeting somebody new.
Yeah, of course.
Have you thought about trying to meet somebody new since ending things with your ex?
I mean, yes and no, but then again, that just, I mean, it's so much work. I mean, I just think that, you know, you have to be prepared to, like, you know, it's the same thing. I'm going to talk to people all day and then he's going to want to go to dinner or, you know, anything like that. So it's like, do I have time for that? Because I don't want to start something and then really, like, enjoy the person and be like, all of a sudden we can't, you know, I'm just like, you know, because I'm overwhelmed as it is. And I'm like, I need to get myself in, like, in a better routine where I can manage work, get to the gym, have time with my friends, and do that before I can really engage someone else into my world.
Okay. Is, you know, going a little bit back to work and just because you mentioned it again and balancing work a little bit more, it sounds like you take on a lot. Is there stuff that you can rely on your coworkers for?
I think that's a agency issue. I think that there's a lot that needs to be done in order for us to be successful, but I don't think some of us understand what that is and how to go about that. So I think that's a conversation I've been having at a higher level. So I think that will change, but I just have to be patient as that, you know, they work through that process, if that makes sense. I know that it won't always be like this forever, but at the end of the day, you know, my goal is to be at a higher level. So if I get a promotion, a lot of I won't be doing as much in the field stuff as more as overseeing things, if that makes sense. So I'll be more like helping people do what I was doing.
You're talking to people about your concerns though.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's helped alleviate any of your stress?
Yeah, sometimes, but then it's also like that waiting game. It's like, okay, so I know my concerns, we know something needs to get done, but again, you know, those internal policy things, you know, they have to go through the right channels to address things, and so like it's not going to be an overnight fix. And so I think for me, just being so like, I want it done yesterday. Like, like if somebody says something, oh, Kayla, we need you to make 17 folders. They're done already. Don't even don't ask me, like, you'll have them same day. And so, like, you know, I want that immediacy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not impulsive by any fashion, but I just, you know, when something's asked of me, I'm going to do it. And so then I want the same in return. And maybe that's one of my issues, is that I have really high expectations of myself, and therefore maybe sometimes I put others on the same level when maybe that's unfair because they can't do that.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a good job at your work, and to ask another person to be on the same level of you is really difficult because everyone has their own work ethic.
Yeah.
Have you talked with your team about it?
I mean, we've had some conversation. My team is newer, so I think it's just a matter of, like, we haven't got to spend a whole lot of time together. So for me to kind of be like the lead on the team, and then some of them are still in training. So I mean, they've only been here for a month or two, maybe 3. So again, a couple of them are close to, like, functioning how I do, but there's a couple that kind of, like, you know, we're pulling along as we go. But that's something that, you know, I think is just hard for me because I am such a overachiever and very type A. Like, I don't understand that, you know, like, floating through, you know, just.
So I think from what I'm hearing is there's some stress level there, but there's ways of working through it.
Yes.
I think it's just about developing how to do it, whether it's relying a little bit more on your teammates and alleviating a little bit of that workload from you, or, you know, trying to bring the team all together and motivating all at once. And sounds like too, we might have to work a little bit on patience and understanding that with change comes time. Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we're in the right direction here in terms of what we need to work on and work towards.
Fingers crossed.
How do you feel about it all?
I mean, I feel good about it. I just, like, you know, some of those things, like, I know I need to do it, but it's like, ugh. And I think part of it is because I go back to, I'm smarter than this. Like, like when Eva asked me to use, I should have never done it in the first place. And, like, now I'm here.
Well, we can't go back into the past.
I know. But again, I was never, you know what I'm saying, like, drinking in college. Like, I was never like a, you know, I didn't do stuff like that. You know what I mean? And again, that stigma, like, you know what I mean?
I do. I understand that. But we can work on all of this.
Yeah.
And the first step is walking in and having a conversation about it, which is what you were able to do. So that's the first step here. So how about this? How about you take one of the things that we might have talked about today and challenge yourself until the next time we meet to work on?
Probably the planner is the best, I think, the first place to start, because I think I need to get myself organized. So I don't do that. I don't know where I can fit in all that other stuff, like the gym and coffee and.
Okay. So the first step then is to get yourself a planner and start working on that. Okay. How do you feel now?
Are you telling me I have to get my planner and then bring it in to show you the next time I see you?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
But let's take the step is to just buy it. Maybe just that step.
Okay.
And you can start working on your time to fill it out and what you feel you can best utilize it for.
Okay.
Work, home life, both.
Okay.
It's the first step.
Okay.
All right.
I think I can do that.
Anything else you want to talk about today?
No, that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Okay.
I'll punch my sister later for making me do this. Well, it's fine. I know I needed to come. I joke, but I needed to come.
You know, you talked about your sister not necessarily understanding too, kind of this using cocaine and why you use, and you talked about educating her.
I tell her she's the reason.
Why do you feel like she might be the reason?
Because she nags me all the time.
Okay, well,
No.
There's probably ways we can work with her about maybe educating her, and I think, you know, you have to start a conversation with her about how you feel. Why do you feel like she nags you?
She's a stay-at-home mom and doesn't have anything else to do. Like, you know, and I think, again, like when we were in college, we were always really close. So then, like, you know, just to see some of those shifts in me, and I think, I think she generally just worries.
So it could be the nagging's more of just a love and a concern.
Friendly worry. You must have sisters.
I do. Yeah.
So, I joke about it and it's annoying sometimes, but I think, you know, all emotions aside, she probably has the best intentions. So.
Okay. You talk a little bit more about your sister than your best friend. Do you think your sister can benefit from, you know, learning about the cocaine use and where your stress lies and why you used it, and possibly bringing her in and having her talk with us one day.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think that it won't seem as blatant to her because I think she thinks I do it for like shock value, but it's not like, oh, let me snort some cocaine and see if Tabby gets upset about it. That's not at all what's happening. Like, and I think for her, again, and I think that just goes back to that like selfishness of like, you know, when people let me down, like, why is it about you? It has nothing to do with you. My use has nothing to do with you. And like she wants to make it about her, and then I get more angry. And then I'm just like, shut up and stop talking to me.
Okay, so it's something that we can,
Mm-hmm.
you know, work on with her
Yeah.
in that relationship, and hopefully kind of bringing you guys a little bit closer together.
Yeah.
You know, do you have any other siblings besides
Yeah,
your sister?
but they're younger and I don't really talk to them much. And they don't really know what's going on. So.
Okay. So I think we're headed in the right direction here. And you have some good goals and some ways of working through these things.
Awesome.
All right. Well, it was very nice to meet you today, and I look forward to working with you and seeing how we can do this.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.